This is the bronze mechanical bull Beyonce rides during Tyrant. This is the bronze bull on Wall Street. This is ticker tape scrolling during America Has a Problem in both the Renaissance and Cowboy Carter tours. Ticker tape is a continuous stream of ticker symbols, short codes representing publicly traded stocks on Wall Street. They display real-time prices and fast-moving market activity on the New York Stock Exchange. Wall Street, located in Lower Manhattan, is named after a literal wall built in the 1600s by enslaved African Americans and indigenous people to protect Dutch colonizers. Wall Street was also the site of a slave market up until 1762, where enslaved people were bought and sold. The early stocks traded there were of companies whose wealth were built because of slave labor. Today, the same location is home to the financial capital of the world. As of 2024, there are only 6 publicly traded black-owned companies on the New York Stock Exchange in the United States, comprising approximately of 0.14% of the total public companies. This is the Tulsa Race Massacre, also known as the burning of Black Wall Street. In 1921, a white mob destroyed the prosperous Black Greenwood district in Tulsa, Oklahoma, killing hundreds and obliterating generations of black wealth. And this is part 1 of my new series, America Has a Problem, where I dive into the propaganda Beyonce has been pointing out to us in her visuals, music, and tours that have resulted in the controlling of the American mind. Before we dive in, remember to subscribe to my channel to support my work and to make sure you don't miss any of the videos in this series. I've got some really good ones coming up. And if you'd like to support my work financially, you can buy me a coffee at buymeacoffee.com/lawbreakers. This video is actually inspired by a message I received from one of my supporters, Elena, asking what I thought about the ticker tape. So everyone say thank you, Elena, because this one comment has spurred this entire America Has a Problem series. Now, let's dive in. Part 1. Ticker tape. We see Beyonce using ticker tape on the cunty news screens during America Has a Problem during the Renaissance World Tour. However, since there was so much going on this screen, including the Horse in Motion video, which inspired by original Jordan Peele, Nope, Beyonce video theory, back in 2024, which you can watch here, I didn't pay much attention to the ticker tape, and I think Beyonce noticed that we didn't notice. So, during the Cowboy Carter tour, during America Has a Problem, there is literally only one visual on the screen, besides the live stream visual of her performance, and that visual is the ticker tape and the on-air sign. When Beyonce puts something like this in front of us in such a focused way, it is something she wants us to pay attention to. It turns out ticker tape has quite an interesting history. Ticker tape was originally a continuous strip of physical paper that displayed real-time stock prices and financial information. It began to be used on Wall Street to track market activity in 1867 when Edward A. Callahan of the American Telegraph Company invented the first ticker tape machine to deliver real-time stock price updates over telegraph lines. These machines printed abbreviated symbols called ticker symbols, which uniquely identified publicly traded shares of a particular stock or security. Interestingly, I found there's something called a ticker tape parade. It was a celebratory procession typically in Lower Manhattan, where Wall Street is, where office workers on Wall Street tossed shredded ticker tape from the building windows onto the parade roof below. The first time it was ever done was on October 28, 1886 to honor the Statue of Liberty dedication. Of course, we know that Beyonce ends this tour with the Statue of Liberty. Throughout the late 19th and early 20th centuries, ticker tape became the financial standard until the 1960s when electronic and digital displays replaced the paper strips. And today, virtually all ticker tape is a computerized scroll on screens rather than physical paper. This brings me back to Beyonce, and why is she using ticker tape with the ticker symbols that represent all of her different songs? For example, AHAP for America Has a Problem, CC for Cowboy Carter, CZY for Cozy, etc., etc. Well, by using her songs as ticker symbols, representing each song as almost a publicly traded company of sorts, Beyonce is turning her music into tradable assets, declaring that her cultural production has a real, worldly, economic value. The New York Stock Exchange ticker tape is monitored all over the world. Just like how Beyonce is monitored all over the world, she shifts economies, which reminded me of the Beyonce effect. Wherever Beyonce goes, there are sold-out hotels and rate spikes, surging restaurants, retail, and beauty services upticked in demand, even extended transit hours to accommodate fans. Wherever Beyonce goes, her concerts inject tens of millions into local economies, turning each tour stop into a mini economic boom. Her using ticker symbols as her own songs subverts Wall Street imagery to show that, like stocks, her art is a form of capital demanding recognition and investment. In doing so, she reclaims the financial power for Black creators and critiques a system that has long excluded them from the markets they fuel. So here we have Beyonce referencing ticker tape twice, both during her Renaissance and Cowboy Carter tours. During America Has a Problem, specifically, ticker tape reflects stock prices and moving a global market. Ticker tape was used as confetti in parades in Lower Manhattan for a ticker tape parade. The first ticker tape confetti was used to celebrate the dedication of the Statue of Liberty. Beyonce uses dollar bill confetti with her face on it during Bills, Bills, Bills on the Cowboy Carter tour and ends every show with an African-American woman depicted as the Statue of Liberty. All of this made me wonder about Wall Street's origins, and I assumed it began in the early 1900s because I don't really know much about stocks, which reflects exactly the problem America has with Wall Street and the gap between Black Americans owning stocks and white Americans owning stocks. African Americans have long helped determine stock value through their labor and consumer power, yet they have systematically been excluded from the rewards. Distrust born of intentional barriers means Wall Street profits from the ignorance and alienation. Today, only about 39% of Black Americans own stocks compared to 66% of white families, a gap rooted in centuries of exclusion and contributing to the racial wealth divide. And do you know what I learned? Wall Street's New York Stock Exchange was founded all the way back in 1792. I didn't even know this. It has quite a dark history as well. Part 2. Wall Street. Wall Street, located in Lower Manhattan, is the symbolic heart of global capitalism. It was physically and economically built on systems of exclusion and exploitation beginning with slavery. The street got its name Wall Street in 1653 when Dutch colonists in what was then New Amsterdam, not New York City, they needed a wall to protect the colony from indigenous tribes, enslaved Black people who might revolt, and external threats like the British or pirates, though the British did eventually take them over, turning New Amsterdam into New York, as York is a city in England, and the British overtook the colony. Hence New York. Though the wall was dismantled by 1699 when the British took over and renamed the city New York, the street that ran alongside it retained the name Wall Street. Fast forward to 1792, Wall Street became the epicenter of the American finance institution. 24 brokers signed the Buttonwood Agreement, laying the groundwork for what would become the New York Stock Exchange. At that time, slavery was still legal in New York until 1827 and the South until 1865. A slave market operated at the corner of Wall Street and Pearl Streets. We often think of slavery as something that happened in the South, but this was something that happened in the North as well. This slave market that took place on Wall Street is where enslaved African men, women, and children were auctioned off in the very financial district that would come to represent American wealth and success. Early American finance was not only geographically adjacent to slavery, it was functionally dependent on it. Banks, insurance companies, and investors financed and profited from slavery-backed industries like cotton, tobacco, sugar, and rice. Enslaved Black people were legally classified as property and were insured by slave owners, just like livestock or buildings. Insurance policies were actually taken out on their lives, meaning if an enslaved person died, the owner could collect a payout. These policies themselves became financial instruments, bundled, bought, and sold, turning Black bodies into risk-assessed assets on paper. This practice not only commodified human life, but also tied enslaved people directly into the growth of American finance, making them central to the foundations of Wall Street. Shipping companies made fortunes transporting enslaved people and the raw materials they were forced to produce. These financial operations were all actively traded on the early stock exchanges, helping to grow the wealth of institutions that still exist today. In early colonial America, tobacco was the cash crop, which brings me to this photo of Beyonce smoking her cigar, where she is posed very similarly to the Statue of Liberty. Tobacco was carefully and strenuously cultivated by enslaved Africans whose forced labor underpinned the entire tobacco industry. As early as the 1630s, investors in the London, Virginia Company bought shares based on anticipated tobacco yields, effectively speculating on a commodity produced by human bondage. You can watch more about the significance of Beyonce using tobacco and why we see her smoking throughout the Cowboy Carter tour in this video. It specifically is looking at this picture, but when I talk about tobacco, harkens back to why she is smoking on the Cowboy Carter tour as well. It makes this photo of Beyonce wearing the sash that says the Reclamation of America while smoking a cigar hit in a very different way. So to recap, the literal Wall of Wall Street was built to protect white wealth and power and colonizers, and the economic system it birthed was powered by forced labor and the dehumanization of black people. Americans' capitalist foundations were not neutral or colorblind. They were deeply rooted in the racial injustice, and Wall Street's rise was made possible by the commodification of black lives. You need to understand, when our stock exchange and capitalist systems were established in America, white Americans didn't just get a head start. They received a rocket-powered head launch towards wealth. Part 3. Black Wall Street. Despite the oppressive climate created by black codes and Jim Crow in the South after slavery was abolished, black communities sought ways to build economic independence and resilience. One of the most remarkable examples was the founding of Black Wall Street in the Greenwood district of Tulsa, Oklahoma. Established in the early 20th century, Black Wall Street became one of the most prosperous and self-sufficient black communities in the United States. It featured thriving black-owned businesses, including banks, hotels, theaters, and professional offices, creating a vibrant economic and cultural hub. And this was in the early 1900s. Black Wall Street had black-owned banks that played a crucial role in the community's economic success and provided financial services like loans, saving accounts, and credit to black entrepreneurs and residents who were often excluded from white-owned banks due to segregation and discrimination. One notable example was the First National Bank of Tulsa, which helped fund businesses and supported the economic growth of Greenwood. These black-owned banks were vital in fostering economic independence and self-sufficiency within the black community. The prosperity and economic independence of African Americans during this period was perceived as a direct threat to the existing white racial hierarchy and white supremacy. Black resilience challenged the social and economic control that many white Americans sought to maintain. Even though slavery was over, racism was not. The success was seen as inflammatory and unacceptable, fueling fear, jealousy, and resentment amongst white people. Black economic independence was not just an achievement, but also a powerful symbol of resistance, and white supremacists felt compelled to crush it. This is kind of what I'm thinking that I'm That Girl is about. There are white supremacist systems that are so threatened by black financial power and wealth that they seek to crush it. But she says these motherfuckers ain't stopping me. If you want to hear more of my I'm That Girl breakdown, you can watch this video here. The burning of Black Wall Street, also known as the Tulsa Race Massacre of 1921, was a devastating attack on the prosperous black community in Greenwood, Tulsa, Oklahoma. The violence was sparked by racial tensions and false accusations against a young black man who was wrongly accused of assaulting a white woman. This was an often used lie by white racists to justify acts of violence. The burning of Black Wall Street saw white mobs, some deputized by local authorities, descend onto Greenwood, looting, burning homes and businesses, and killing hundreds of black residents. The violent destruction was rooted in the fear and resentment of black economic success amid the oppressive Jim Crow era, aiming to violently suppress black progress and maintain white supremacy. The massacre erased decades of wealth and prosperity that they had built in their community, leaving a lasting scar on the community and symbolizing the brutal backlash against black advancement in America. While some residents stayed and tried to rebuild Black Wall Street, the recovery was slow and incomplete due to systemic racism, lack of government support, and ongoing threats. Many survivors and their family were forced to leave Greenwood and relocate somewhere else, contributing to the wider Great Migration north. 40-plus years later, Martin Luther King Jr. urged African Americans in his last and famous speech, "I've been to the mountaintop." In Memphis, he urged them to put their money in black-owned banks, saying, quote, "We've got to strengthen black institutions. I call upon you to take your money out of the banks downtown and deposit your money in the Tri-State Bank. We want a bank-in movement in Memphis. We begin the process of building a greater economic base." The very next day, Dr. King was assassinated, and his dream of building real black economic power was cut short. There's no way to tell if this speech, specifically when he talked about black people putting their money back into blank banks, is what spurred his assassination. Obviously, he was a target, but it's interesting that the second black folks tried to gain economic independence and entrepreneurship and feed back into their community just like Black Wall Street, that is when white supremacists decide to strike in the most violent ways. Before integration, black folks in cities like Richmond, Chicago, and Atlanta relied on black-owned community banks. They weren't just banks, they were lifelines. They funded our churches, our neighborhoods, our businesses. But after desegregation, something shifted. White banks had to start letting us in, but instead of empowering empowering black folks, it pulled our money out of our own communities. The dollars that used to circulate among the black community started going into the white banks, meaning Wall Street, and the big institutions that didn't see us. And just like that, the wealth we were trying to build began to leak out. The message is clear. Wherever black communities begin to assert their financial power, racist systems respond with violence, burning down progress, assassinating leaders, and doing whatever it takes to regain control, specifically around money. Part 4. Buckin. Beyonce rides a bronze nose ring bull during Tyrant, and we have here a bronze bull on Wall Street. This is essentially the icon of Wall Street. Maybe it's a stretch, but I feel there is a connection given the other monetary symbols she's been giving us, such as the ticker tape and the dollar bill confetti. The charging bull on Wall Street, also known as the Wall Street Bull, was created in 1989 by Italian-American sculptor Arturo di Modica. He placed it without permission in front of the New York Stock Exchange as a symbol of strength and resilience following the 1987 stock market crash. Over time, it became an emblem of aggressive capitalism, bullish markets, and financial power rooted in Wall Street. We know its bronze shine hides a deeper, darker truth. The quote-unquote American dream is not for us. It's systematically built against us. And when we do try to create our own thriving, aggressive, capitalistic, booming black markets, white people are there to cut it down. When Beyonce rides the golden mechanical bull during Tyrant on the Cowboy tour, she isn't just riding it for a spectacle. She's riding the market itself, if you look at it that way. Beyonce, by riding this bronze bull, is taking the reins of a market and putting it back in her control just by creating the stocks and the ticker tape, ticker symbols into representations of her songs. Her music is a literal economic indicator. Beyonce creates the demand, the Beyonce effect wherever she goes. Hotels fill, restaurants surge, beauty businesses boom. In economic terms, Beyonce is the market. So it's no accident that she is in the saddle, riding the bull. She's creating her own bullish market and she is in charge of it. Beyonce's presence on the bull flips the power dynamic. Wall Street once used black labor to build its wealth. I mean, it still does, but you know what I mean? Now Beyonce is riding the beast that they built. Then there's the word tyrant. She chooses to ride the bull during her song, Tyrant. But let's look deeper here because everything with Beyonce is deeper. A tyrant is a term often used politically to describe someone who seizes power and rules without consent. They do not ask for permission. Do not ask permission to take something that already belongs to you. She doesn't need to ask for permission to take the reins riding the bull of the stock market, of the economy, of black economic entrepreneurship and power. Beyonce is showing us how systems of power have long acted like tyrants over black communities, but here she's literally taking the reins back, riding the bull and declaring, I am not beneath the market, I move the market, I ride the market, I control the market. It's a call for economic reclamation and a challenge to those who have hoarded power for too long. Because when she wears the sash of the reclamation of America, you cannot look at America without seeing how money and Uncle Sam are America. There's nothing more American than capitalism. There's nothing more American than a bullish stock market. There's nothing more American than money. And that is why, when it comes to the reclamation of America, it includes money. This is an invitation for black Americans to reclaim their economic power, to recognize that their dollars move markets and realize they can build their own Wall Street, one rooted in community, equity, and sovereignty. I think her face on the dollar bills, I'm going to do another video on that in this series, specifically the dollar bills. Maybe she is going to start some kind of bank of some sort, some kind of investing company. I don't know. I feel like with the culmination of all of these projects, it would just make so much sense for her to create some kind of institution, be it a bank, be it a school, something like that for black people to have a place to come together, breathe money and energy into their community in a financial way. Maybe she's going to make her own cryptocurrency. I don't know. But I think it's interesting that she is making herself Uncle Sam. She's putting herself on the money. She's making her songs the symbols that would be traded on the stock exchange. She is inserting herself in all of these monetary places. Part 5. Wall Street has a problem. My aim with this series is to show you how Beyonce is positioning herself as a problem to powerful institutions that have historically profited from oppression, exploitation, and disempowerment of black people, whether it's Wall Street, Big Pharma, or even the entertainment industry itself. Just like in this picture, she's been indicated as the problem. In this video about America has a Wall Street problem, I hope it made it clear that Beyonce is urging us to reclaim financial power, and her visuals are not just an aesthetic, they are a strategy. By embedding symbols like the ticker tape, dollar bills, and the stock market imagery into her work, specifically during America has a problem on both tours, she's not just performing, she is teaching and making a very obvious lesson. She's revealing how black labor, creativity, and culture have always driven economic value, even while being systemically excluded from its rewards. Thank you for watching part 1 of my America Has a Problem series, and a huge shout out to Elena for suggesting I look into the ticker tape, which was what ended up sparking this entire deep dive and this America Has a Problem series. If you've made it to the end of this video, drop a black heart and a stock market going up in the comments so that I know that you've been with me till the very end. There's so much more to come in this series, so hit the subscribe button to turn on notifications so you don't miss any of the upcoming videos. And as always, if you want to support my work, you can buy me a coffee at buymeacoffee.com/lorebreakers. And if you do buy me a coffee, please do leave a message request for a video in there. I'll be sure to see it. I get a lot of comments, I get a lot of messages, which I absolutely love, but I can't see all of them. But if you buy me a coffee, I will definitely see that message. And if you're dying for me to cover something in a video, just leave a message there and I will make sure to reply back to you, or maybe even make a whole video around what your request is. And lastly, thank you to everyone who bought a Lore Breakers Was Right tote bag. I would love if you sent me any pictures so I could see it and repost it, or if you don't want me to repost it, I would just love to see you with your tote bags. Thank you to everyone who's bought one so far. If you want to grab one, you can get one in the link below in my description or in my bio on TikTok. And that's all for now. Till next time, love Lore Breakers.